You only need to know me. I will be the one.
This video contains spoilers for the recent One Piece chapter 1106. Anyways, the reawakening of Luffy as the sun god Nika, the ancient iron giant robot waking up again, coinciding with the arrival of our old friends, the giants of Elbaf, Dory and Brogy, and Vegapunk's words that people all over the world have been awaiting Luffy's arrival for hundreds of years. The return of Joy Boy. I'm sure you all can see what is going on here. Elbaf is the beginning of the end of One Piece. People have been pointing out on various social media platforms and in my own comment section that Luffy is just too strong. There's practically no one out there that can really challenge him except for the final big hitters, other Yonko and the Gorosei. Maybe the Holy Knights. And of course, Imu Nerona. Anytime a character gets this strong, it marks a point of passage, you could say. There's no going back. We are closer to that final chapter now than we are to the first. Chapter 1 holds importance to what is happening now, as Luffy's potential reunion with Shanks draws nearer, if it does still happen. Shanks likely being the one that explained Luffy's importance to the giants of Elbaf, as it was Shanks that initially had a reaction to the image of Gear 5 Luffy in the newspapers. Shanks went to that island, the island of Elbaf, immediately after the end of Wano for a reason, I think, more than just a pit stop. The giants mentioned the same newspaper at the beginning of chapter 1106, and thereafter the giants proclaim that they have come for the sun god, that there are things in this world that cannot be stopped. A callback to the words of two critical figures that are only now making their move. Shanks and his captain Roger, via the memory of Luffy's father Monkey D. Dragon. Roger and Dragon told us that inherited will, the destiny of an age, and the dreams of its people, these are things that cannot be stopped. That so long as people yearn for and continue to pursue the meaning of freedom, these things will never cease to be. We recently got a callback to this with Vegapunk describing the existence of devil fruits, how they are inherited like will, how they are born from people's dreams, how the devil fruit of the sun god Nika is a perpetual answer to people crying for freedom, no different than an eternal flame that never stops burning. The giants telling us that there are things in this world that cannot be stopped also takes us back to Shanks, who told Whitebeard about Blackbeard's plans and that no one could have stopped this reckless era. This is a thing that will never end. History itself. History repeats itself time and again. That is why Joy Boy has returned. That is why I think Elbaf will mark the beginning of the end of One Piece, for we are entering a battle of the past, or rather a battle that was waged in the distant past and will now be waged again. We are, for all intents and purposes, in a new era, or an impending new era that will be defined by the conflict with three central or critical figures: the King of the World Imu Nerona, Monkey D. Luffy as Joy Boy or the sun god Nika, and Marshall D. Teach as Blackbeard, or whoever might bear a resemblance to Blackbeard from long ago. It isn't a coincidence that Imu was holding or in possession of pictures and wanted posters of Luffy, Blackbeard, and Shirahoshi, as well as Vivi. We now know Luffy is both the sun god and Joy Boy who lived during the Void Century. Shirahoshi is somewhat of a reincarnation of the previous ancient weapon Poseidon, who lived during the Void Century too. And Nefertari, Vivi's family line, is descended from Nefertari D. Lily, who also comes from this ancient timeline. Prior to the destruction of the world, the lost history, the Void Century, Lily's great blunder that spread the Poneglyphs everywhere, Here we have 3 Will of D carriers, Luffy, Blackbeard, Vivi. And just as Luffy's reawakening on Egghead Island is quite literally shaking and awakening the world around him, again the ancient Iron Giant robot waking up, and the giants of Elbaf arriving, that now is the time to make their move. Others are making their move too, and there are surely more to follow. Dragon and Ivankov questioned why Imu Nerona was only now making his move after the destruction of Luzia Kingdom by the Mother Flame under Imu's orders, as if rebellion, as if the Revolutionary Army acting, was not the only reason, but perhaps Joy Boy's return was. Imu using what seems to be a replica of the ancient weapon Uranus to destroy the world, in a manner that might have contributed to the world's destruction and the Void Century in the past, an ancient weapon that might only be possible now. In the same way Poseidon's powers are only relevant now, having been born in the same era as Joy Boy. Joy Boy's return. It's all connected. They are all connected. The destruction of Luzia Kingdom, mind you, and this is something I pointed out in a video titled, Luffy Becoming Joy Boy is a Disaster, that I will try and remember to link below this video. But the destruction of Luzia Kingdom is the direct result of 16 beams of light energy that fell upon the island. 16 is the number many have counted, many saying it's the same for the anime version of these events in the manga. This is no different than the 16 chimes of the Ox Bell. The 16 chimes. Luffy rang the Ox Bell sometime after the end of Marineford. This Ox Bell is a sacred bell, originally from an ancient warship. A ship of war, and so it has ties to war. The bell signifies the end of one year and the beginning of another, the end of one thing and the beginning of something new. One era dies and another rising from the ashes. It is rung 8 times to give thanks for the old year, and another 8 times to welcome the new year. And so, the past and the present clashing in a struggle for the future. If the Ox Bell is rung twice, it signifies some sort of distress or disaster. The 16 energy beams of light that destroyed Luzia brought about a disaster that has caused sea levels around the world to rise, and the island of Luzia to disappear from the world entirely. Luffy's return of Joy Boy has brought about disasters around the world, causing chaos wherever he goes. And Luffy's ringing of the Ox Bell was believed by the Marines to be a formal declaration of war on the world government. No surprise then that Imu would retaliate against the revolutionaries with a declaration of war of his own, and maybe even addressing the return of Joy Boy, as if to say, if you want to challenge me, come. And leading up to Luffy ringing the Ox Bell was Blackbeard's own arrival. Blackbeard, who after killing Whitebeard and stealing his powers told us that this was his era now. This was Blackbeard's age. And as we question what happened to that Blackbeard's pirate ship that was approaching Egghead Island, we have to ask whether that declaration from Blackbeard still stands. Whose era is it exactly? Blackbeard's, Luffy's, or the era of Imu Nerona? The bell has been rung. The world has been shaken. This new era cannot be stopped, nor can anything else that is coming as One Piece rushes towards its end. This arc is almost over and the next island, likely Elbaf, is now around the corner. The actions of 2 Will of D carriers is driving the world to a precipice, the edge of a cliff, in part. I think this ties into the butterflies surrounding Imu. As I've mentioned before in other videos, these butterflies might tie into what is known as the butterfly effect, the suggestion that the world is deeply interconnected, such that one small occurrence can influence a much larger complex system. The butterfly effect is named after an allegory for chaos theory. It evokes the idea that a small butterfly flapping its wings could, hypothetically, cause a typhoon. Every action has consequences. If this has been Imu's era for the last several hundred years, one king to rule them all. Then Imu is sending a message as islands are obliterated, disappearing from existence. Through Imu, Oda might be saying it's a shame it has come to this, that the balance of the world must be restored, even if it means all-out war and the destruction of the world. And this takes us to the last point of this video. So, I mentioned the Will of D, the coming storm. The term butterfly effect was coined by the meteorologist Edward Lorenz, who discovered in the 1960s that tiny butterfly scale changes to the starting point of his computer weather models resulted in anything from sunny skies to violent storms, with no way to predict in advance what the outcome might be. Imu, butterflies, storms. What is Imu's relationship to the Will of D? What does that initial mean? Is Imu also descended from the D clan, alongside Vivi? Was the name of D given to all of them? Was it given to the followers of Joy Boy? Was Imu also once a follower of Joy Boy? Imu a pirate that betrayed his friend or captain? A mutiny? Anyways, the coming storm. You can't stop the storm. You can't stop the new era. Shanks mentions the new era the world government is afraid of at the end of Wano. Shanks mentioned this reckless era that cannot be stopped. That Luffy and Blackbeard are fated for battle essentially. The sun and the darkness. Which will win? Aside from the giants of Elbaf, Dory and Brogy coming for the sun god after recognizing him in the newspaper, Shanks has also declared it's time to move. To go after the One Piece now. The sun has finally risen. Morning is coming. Let's go. I'm wondering who else will make their move. Who else has been waiting for a sign, for the return of the dawn and Joy Boy? Something that was prophetic was the speech by Doflamingo about the Throne Wars. A war for the throne, not just for the title of Pirate King, but also the seat that Imu sits on, the empty throne. A throne that is supposed to be empty, almost as if it is waiting for the rightful heir to sit there. And how the people of the D, those that carry the Will of D coming out of hiding, will the D clan make their move now that Joy Boy is back? The same newspaper that spurred the giants to come to Egget Island. No wonder the Gorosei panicked over the portrayal of Luffy as Joy Boy in it, but also over the inclusion of Luffy's middle initial D. We have seen the reaction to how he looks. The same resemblance may be as prophesied of the sun god. But why is concealing that middle initial D so important? Just as important as hiding Luffy's Gear 5 appearance. Who else is out there waiting for Joy Boy's return? The reactions that I am most interested in when it comes to Luffy's new wanted poster are the reactions of Dragon, Blackbeard, and Imu. Will they recognize in Luffy an ancient ally or an enemy? Given how old the giants of Elbaf are, they have likely known about the sun god Nika prior to Shanks telling them anything. If Shanks told them anything at all, that is. The giants, no doubt, have legends, stories in their own culture that have been passed down the generations. It is called ELBAF after all. Elbaf flipped around reads as fable. Fables are short stories that convey virtues or teach lessons on morality. They often involve animals as main characters and are designed to be engaging and easy to understand for people of all ages. One Piece does have some fable elements to it. Fables have been around for thousands of years, with versions found in literature from many different cultures. And the giants of Elbaf can live to be hundreds of years old, with lifespans 3 times that of humans, so 300 years old or so. I wouldn't be surprised if there are giants that are older, maybe some that lived during the Void Century, or have knowledge of that time, stories passed down like inherited will, like dreams and destiny. Shanks' knowledge of Luffy's true importance and whatever he told the giants. Shanks was a Roger pirate at one time. He sailed on the Oro Jackson. Does Shanks know what they found on Laugh Tale? What the One Piece really is? Does Shanks know what the other Roger pirates learned about the true history? Does this include Crocus? Or Rayleigh hinted at during Sabaody? The true history of the world that the Straw Hats will have to find out for themselves. We saw Shanks in a flashback with Rayleigh discussing Luffy during the Sabaody arc. What else did Shanks and Rayleigh talk about that Oda has yet to share? Does it have anything to do with Shanks making his move now?
One Piece.
The stories of these giants, ancient in their age, old as they come, they have likely seen many suns, sunrises and sunsets, times of war and times of peace, era after era, but none quite like the current dawn. One such story I'm interested in concerns Winter Solstice, a festival held by the Giants of Elbaf to celebrate the death and rebirth of the sun. The winter solstice is a phenomenon addressing the day with the shortest period of daylight and the longest night of the year. It is said that after the festival, the warmth of the sun will return to end the winter season. The long night will come to an end as the sun banishes the darkness. This also ties into the mark of a new era, or a new year, as the duration of the winter festival is said to be 12 days, implying that it starts on December 21st, Winter Solstice Day, and ends on January 1st of the next year, the new year, a new era, Joy Boy's era, the dawn. The sun rises again, but the most important takeaway from all of this is the darkness, the long night that comes before. Things seem a little too good now. As I mentioned about Luffy's character and how strong he is, how can Oda reintroduce the stakes and tension into the story that we seem to have somewhat lost? Maybe with a long night, the moon that Lady Toki spoke of, the moon that is unaware of the dawn, a long night woven over the course of not just 20 years, but ever since the Void Century. It might not just be in reference to the king of the world Imu's dark and dystopian reign, but the darkness of Blackbeard that threatens to snatch the light, stealing victory from the day. We see Blackbeard as a small child, crying in what looks like snow, with a moon above him, a crescent moon. Blackbeard, in his own words, is a man of darkness, the winter before spring, the night before morning. It isn't morning just yet, and given that the giants are creatures of Norse mythology, it's worth mentioning another fable or story, that of Ragnarok, a prophecy of a final war, where an antagonist, a monster, a wolf named Fenrir, devours the sun and kills the chief god Odin. Odin's son, Vidar, will avenge his father, it is said. Some think the Straw Hat was or is Joy Boy's crown, shaped like a sun, a crown fitting for a sun god. Since it was last worn by Shanks, Blackbeard killing Shanks would be like swallowing the sun. Blackbeard already swallowed an actual sun, a ball of fire made by Ace, ultimately responsible for the death of Ace too. And Luffy will likely avenge each son, Ace and Shanks, by fighting Blackbeard in the next major war of One Piece, maybe even the next arc, before the final war begins. This might be another story the giants have passed down. But as usual, we will have to wait and see. Don't forget to like the video, comment with your thoughts below, and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter at the following address, at Vinland Ragnar. My Twitter page is on the screen. Also check out my spoiler channel called Vinland, where I'll be covering the One Piece spoilers as well as turning your comments into videos. And check out the One Piece news channel D News, where I'll be covering news in the One Piece community. Again, links will be in the description box and pinned in the comment section below. As always, there's more to come. Until next time.